is there going to be anything that hems you up or
No,
ties you
absolutely
to that?
nothing. Nothing.
In a quiet, unassuming town, a chilling murder case unraveled, leaving the community in shock and disbelief. At the center of this grim tale stands Zach, a loving husband who believes he knows his wife inside out. But what happens when trust is shattered and reality takes a sinister turn? As the police dug deeper into the mysterious death of Zach's friend, they uncovered a web of deceit and betrayal that would lead to a shocking revelation. Could Zach have ever fathomed that the person he vowed to spend his life with would turn out to be a cold-blooded murderer? How did he come to terms with the devastating truth? When asked how he knew Taylor, Zach explained that they had met through work, as they both worked on private investigation cases. Taylor had become friends with Zach's wife, and she would visit their house from time to time. The investigators probed further, asking if there had been any disagreements between Zach and Taylor. Zach vehemently denied any falling out. However, he admitted that over time, he had noticed some small lies coming from Taylor. Things just didn't feel right, and she would sometimes disappear for days, making it impossible to reach her. But this time, her disappearance was different. Taylor had been missing for over a month before they found her lifeless body. At first, the police didn't think much of it, assuming it was just another case of someone going missing. But the strange thing was that she had left all her belongings at home, and her texts to friends were using language she wouldn't normally use. During the interrogation, the police brought up news articles and the date of the incident, asking Zach if he could remember where he was on the 8th of September. The suspense hung in the air as Zach tried to recollect his whereabouts on that specific day. Zach seemed unsure of the details but was determined to do his best to recall everything he could, so he shared his story with others, trying to be as honest as possible. One day, he went to the bank to get his statement and tried to remember what happened on the 8th of September. He recalled going to a seafood restaurant called 9 Mile in Pine Forest all by himself, as his wife Ash was occupied with work and couldn't join him. Zach knew that his whereabouts on that day were crucial, as it was the same day Taylor went missing. Since Zach had used his debit card to buy food in the area, he believed his story could be verified and prove he was innocent. However, what Zach didn't know was that his wife had become the prime suspect in the murder investigation. The police were not just trying to gather more information about the case, they were also looking into Zach's involvement. They wanted to find out if he had any connection to the crime or if he could provide any evidence against his own wife. In his innocence, Zach remained unaware of the suspicion surrounding his wife. He genuinely believed in his own story, unaware of the potential consequences that could arise. Some detectives approached him with questions about some money that Taylor had supposedly given him. Zach vehemently denied having any knowledge of such money. "No way," he said. "Taylor has never given me anything, not even a penny." The detectives probed further and asked about Zach's own finances. To this, he honestly admitted that whenever he earned money from working on a case or received a settlement from his attorney, he would hand it straight over to his wife, Ashley. She was the one who managed their finances and took care of everything. As it turned out, this money the detectives were asking about amounted to a hefty sum of $34,000. Taylor had given this money to Ashley for safekeeping during her divorce proceedings, wanting to keep it away from her own accounts. The plan was to put it in a safety deposit box as agreed upon, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. The records revealed that instead of safeguarding the money, Ashley had deposited it into her own accounts. By the time Taylor wanted it back, the money had vanished, spent on who knows what. It was a bitter coincidence that Taylor only asked for it back on September 8th. Throughout the investigation, it became evident that Zach was a loving and caring person who had immense trust in his wife. He had provided solid alibis for the time when Taylor disappeared and had minimal involvement in their financial matters. However, the detectives had to be thorough and eliminate any possible involvement. So, they shifted the discussion to where Taylor's body was found, hoping to gather more clues to unravel this mysterious case. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of an intricate tale full of twists and turns. The officer questioned Zach about a property on Britt Road that belonged to someone else. Zach mentioned he had been there last when he swapped his four-wheeler for a side-by-side. Before that, it had been a couple of months, but he couldn't recall the exact date. The officer asked for his phone number, and Zach gave his 554 number, admitting he usually kept it with him and never loaned it to anyone. They probed further, wondering if Ashley ever used the phone, but he said she hadn't. The officer explained that phone records played a crucial role in solving the case, revealing Ashley's presence at the property where Taylor was found dead. Taylor's phone records showed activity at a wedding attended by Ashley the next day, although Taylor was not seen at the wedding or anywhere else after that. The detectives wanted to confirm that any suspicious activities on Zach's phone couldn't be attributed to someone else using it. Zach had little information about the case and didn't know the extent of evidence against his wife. He was doing his best to cooperate and help solve the mystery, providing answers to their questions. The detectives shifted their focus to physical evidence, inquiring about Zach's firearm ownership. He acknowledged having many guns, including a Glock 19. When asked about Taylor's cause of death, Zach said he was told that Taylor had been shot by Ackerman, who got a promotion, but that was all he knew about it. The detectives then asked if Zach had ever bought a gun for Ashley. He confirmed having bought her a PPK 380 in the past, but wasn't sure if she still carried a firearm. As the pressure increased, Zach was asked directly if he had killed or participated in any way in the crime. He vehemently denied any involvement, expressing that he wanted nothing to do with it and knew nothing about it. Zach seemed more casual at first, but it slowly turned into something more serious. The people interviewing him were trying to figure out if he was truly innocent or just good at pretending. Throughout the interview, Zach remained composed. His body language spoke volumes as he didn't lean back, cross his arms, or become closed off in any way, which might suggest guilt. Instead, he leaned forward, maintained eye contact, and spoke clearly and concisely, showing confidence and cooperation. It was evident that he felt at ease around the detectives and had nothing to hide. Interestingly, Zach changed his position a couple of times during the interrogation. At times, he sat upright with his hands and legs open, presenting a more relaxed demeanor. He was doing everything in his power to appear innocent, but the pressure kept building. When asked about Taylor, Zach seemed genuinely confused and denied any knowledge of what might have happened. He expressed his sympathy for the situation, stating that nobody should experience such terrible things. He insisted he had no involvement in the incident and would distance himself from anyone trying to involve him in anything suspicious. Despite Zach's attempts to appear innocent, the detectives continued their investigation. They probed into his text messages, phone records, computers, and finances. But Zach was confident that there was nothing that could tie him to the crime. The detectives then brought up the news about Taylor's case, and Zach admitted to reading about it. Emotionally affected, he struggled to comprehend the situation. Despite being asked to set his feelings aside, he couldn't see Ashley as the type to commit such a crime. He emphasized her intelligence and mentioned her academic achievements. A whirlwind of emotions was swirling in Zach's mind. He just couldn't bring himself to believe that his wife could be involved in such a terrible act as taking someone's life. But as a seasoned P, his training and all the evidence stacked up against his wife were making it increasingly difficult for him to ignore the truth. The incriminating evidence was hard to ignore. Bank statements and cell phone records painted a suspicious picture. To add to the weight, Ashley had been caught on camera buying the very cement that was used to conceal Taylor's grave. It was a devastating revelation. The detectives had seen enough to make their case, and Zach had to confront the situation. Seeking advice from his lawyer, he decided to cooperate fully, allowing them to access his cell phone records. Thankfully, the investigation cleared him of any involvement in the crime, and it was allowed to return home. However, the same couldn't be said for his wife, Ashley. The trial unfolded, and the jury reached its verdict. Ashley MacArthur was found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, and the consequences were severe. She was sentenced to life in prison, with a mandatory minimum of 25 years behind bars. Zach was heartbroken to see his wife go away, but justice had been served, and he had to come to terms with the painful reality of her actions. Life took a tragic turn, and now they were on separate paths, him at home and her behind bars, serving her sentence.